And on row 3 of the grid, Nico Hanke and defending champion Mike David Ortman for Pro Sport Racing in the Aston Martin. Next row, Alex Hartvig alongside Leon Vassather are two drivers that we've seen before. And on row 5, Janis Fitcher and Nicola Moller-Madsen. What a talented row that is. 007, Ben Dorr on row 6 alongside Andreas Bachmann. We welcome him. Daniel Greger and Tom Wood from the UK line up on row 7. And on row 8, Ferdinand Winter and Philip Gogerlock for Eastside Motorsport. Pavel Lefterov, he had a troublesome qualifying as well alongside Josef Knott on row 9. And then on row 10, Robin Falkenbach and Michael Marquez, who shares with Maxim Osten. That's a powerful combination. Marat Karyov and Max Kronberg on row 11. Row 12, Tom Kiefer, defending trophy champion. And Celia Martin, part of an all-female team. Joachim Bolting alongside Nikas Perilati and Yevgen Sokolovsky from the Ukraine, bringing up the rear of the pack. It is a crowded field for this small circuit. You can see the cars just circulating around turn 11 here at Oschersleben, and in just a few moments the safety car will duck off into the pits and we will be ready to go for what is going to be a thrilling season in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Some great onboard shots here, and that was on board with Nicola Moller-Madsen. So this is the final turn of the circuit. Safety car into the pit lane. We are ready for ADAC GT4 Germany 2023. Out onto the pit straight we come. We wait for those red lights to go off. And we are ready to go racing. And it is go. Bulatov and Connor running side by side, but it's Bulatov who now has the run in towards turn 1. This is such a tricky corner. Connor now falling into the clutches of the Mercedes behind, but it's Bulatov who leads into turn 1 and turn 2. The rest of the cars coming through. Some great shots from our drone here as we head around turn 2 up towards Hasseröder, the banked turn 3. But Denis Bulatov, what a great start from him. The rest of the pack just shuffling through. Everybody's made it. That is great news. Past the penalty box. We'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. But Denis Bulatov starting as he means to go on. But is that Mike David Ortman, defending champion? It looks like one of the Pro Sport Aston Martins. I think it's the #1 car that has gone wide. It is Mike David Ortman, not the defence to his title that he was looking for, and he's off into the barrier. It looks like his afternoon is over. A lot of fighting going on further back through the pack. The rest of the cars come filing through, but it's Denis Bulatov. Alex Connor has dropped back into second place, and it's Jan-Philipp Springhoff in second. This is high drama. Safety car already. So the safety car is out with just a minute and a half of the season going. This is not the way that our defending champions saw their season started. They are looking to become the first drivers to ever successfully defend their title. And Mike David Ortman into the barriers.
Yeah, and he came together with one of the BMWs. I think it was the 34 car of Nico Hanke, who had made actually a pretty good start from the rolling start, but was stranded on the outside line and then managed to get through the first couple of corners. But Ortman and he went side by side, and the Ortman car trying to come around the outside was a reasonably heavy hit, side impact on the car, but you can see the dejection there of the race, which has only lasted but a few corners for the defending champions. So safety car straight out. Bulatov in the lead with Springbob, the 85 car, made a good start, didn't he, in the Mercedes?
Yeah.
It's a Mercedes 1, 2, 3. Alex Connor slipping back at the start, didn't get off the line particularly well, did he? He was hanging back a little bit, so he was already a length or so back on the pole sitter, which then put him on the back foot on the way through the left at turn 1 and to the right at turn 2.
Yes, it felt like quite a long time before the green lights came on, and the cars then came into that turn 1. You can see how crowded it was, and to get all the cars around there was quite impressive. But then that problem for Mike David Ortman, and that really is quite a high drama for him, and he will be utterly devastated about that. Between them, Ortman and Sasa have been leading the timing sheets in all the practice sessions. They've been up where at the top, and
there's the impact. It was Trogan, actually. It was the other BMW.
Sami Matten Trogan, yes.
Which is in fourth place at the moment. Hanke had slipped back a bit, and there it was big enough. It wasn't the heaviest of contact, but it's a narrow circuit, this, and if you get sent out wide like that, it's very you've got very little time to recover the car, so trips through the gravel trap, and not able to rejoin. Others were hustling and bustling in the mid-pack there. The number 12 Toyota of Robin Falkenbach was dancing around on the edge of adhesion, but just about held the car. But there are a few that have dropped down the order, and most of them holding station through what's a really tight first section, isn't it? That left through turn 1 into a really tricky right-hander turn 2, where it's oh so easy to understeer wide and get into the gravel. When they're going 2 or 3 abreast into there, you've really got to be careful to avoid contact.
Yeah, and it looked to me like he'd probably broken his steering in that initial contact, the way he kind of speared off into the wall. But he's out of the race. Hugo Sasser is not going to get an opportunity to drive today. They will get the chance to do it again tomorrow, and it will be Sasser who will qualify the car. But it is not the way they saw the defence of their title going. Denis Bulatov, what a great start from him. He'd already opened up a gap. As we've already mentioned, 3 Mercedes at the front, so the Mercedes looking to be the weapon of choice at the moment. It was Sami Massi-Trogan who was involved in the incident with Mike David Ortmann, who is in 4th place in the BMW ahead of Nico Hanke. Then Alex Hartvig for Allied Racing in the Porsche ahead of the ex-champion Nicola Moller-Madsen in 7th ahead of Leon Wasserthurer. If you are new to GT4 racing, just to remind you, there is a mandatory pit stop and driver change that takes place during this race. 25 minutes into the race, the pit window will open. It will remain open for 10 minutes. During that window, every driver will be required to come into the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. And if that wasn't complicated enough, there is a minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. And any driver that goes below that 95 seconds is likely to see a penalty incoming. Some great onboard shots here, as well as we see many of the drivers looking back at them. Some wonderful shots here from our director. The drivers at the moment behind the safety car just working hard to keep the heat in the tyres, and we're looking for notification when the safety car will come in. Clearly not this time around. I reckon probably next time around.
Great to see lots of young drivers coming into GT4 racing these days with swelling grids. You've got Alex Connor there, who's in 3rd place, was on the front row of the grid in the pink number 18 Mercedes, the Muka Motorsport car. This is their local circuit as well, because Muka Motorsport, Peter Muka's team, based in Berlin, so up in the north of Germany. This is their local circuit, but Alex with a single-seater background really before coming into this. I was watching him a few years ago racing to a very high level actually in the British Formula 4 Championship, where he was a multiple race winner, finished 4th in the championship that year, and he's done some single-seater racing in the UK since. So you got the likes of him, Tom Wood, who came up through Ginetta Junior Racing. He's out there and running in the 15 BMW in 11th place at the moment. Then you've got these more experienced drivers like Nicola Moller-Madsen, who we've seen there, the former Audi TT Cup racer, who's got lots of GT racing experience over the last few years. The big Dane, who made a good start actually. Number 6 car has come from 10th on the grid up to 7th place now. So there are a few that picked up 1 or 2 spots out there. Yeah. As we see the stricken number 1 car with poor old Mike David Ortmann got a few corners, but Hugo Sasser is not even going to get a turn of the wheel in the car for this race, but they'll try and come back from it in the second race tomorrow. A notification you can see on the screen that we are going to get back underway thanks to the work of the marshalling team here and the recovery team. It's not taken too long, and we'll get things back underway now with a single file safety car restart at the end of this lap.
Hugo Sasser, who was sharing with Mike David Ortmann, he is a local driver. He comes from Oschersleben, on the outskirts of Oschersleben. He's got a big bunch of family and friends here this weekend, and they're not going to see him race today, hopefully for tomorrow. As we already mentioned, safety car is in, so the cars are now bunching up. In a few moments, the safety car will disappear off into the distance. In fact, it's done that already. It will be Denis Bulatov's job to back the field up. Now, what he'll want to do is to catch Jan-Philipp Springhob napping. He'll want to go when Springhob expects it least. It'll be his decision when to hit the accelerator, and it looks to me like he's made that decision already. Out of turn 14, onto the pit straight they come in single file. We are back under green flag conditions. It's Denis Bulatov once again opening up a pretty decent gap even before they've crossed the line. Jan-Philipp Springhob and Alex Connor. The rest of the cars in single file looking down at the unusual pit exit on the outside of turn 1. And the car's really getting around this turn 2. It is the scene of so many incidents. The hotel turn over the years. It's a tricky corner to navigate. And our drone shot just following the cars up to Hasseröder turn 3, a fairly banked corner, and then past the penalty box and down towards turn 4. Single file at the moment, but there will be challenges from position. There's somebody further back just picking up some dirt as well. But Denis Bulatov certainly looks to have control of this race.
Yeah, he nailed the original start, and he absolutely got that spot on, didn't he, the restart? So he's never under threat. I would say under threat a little bit at the moment on this restart lap. It's the third place Mercedes of Alex Connor. A couple of times he's left the door half open, including into turn 2. Just showing his nose is Trogan in the first of the BMWs in 4th place. He's not quite close enough, though, as they go down here. And again, cars running wide, understeering wide here on a fairly narrow circuit has been a bit of a theme so far this weekend. But thankfully, the grass is rather dry after a couple of nice days here, so they get away with it.
I think it was Ferdinand Winter who might have gone wide there. It was Pavel Lefterov in the shop as well. But it looks as though he's managed to keep it pointing in the right direction, so no harm done at the moment. As already mentioned, Alex Connor coming under increasing pressure from Sami Matu Trogan and Nico Handke behind. It is Connor and Trogan are both making their debut in the ADAC GT4 Germany, but keep an eye on Nico Handke. He has done a fair few laps around Oschersleben in his time. He looks to be putting the pressure on. Also in there as well is the Allied Racing Alex Hartvig in the number 22 car, and behind them Nicola Moller-Madsen, the former champion in ADAC GT4. He's sharing driving duties with Eric Scalvini. Now there's a driver that anybody who follows TCR will be familiar with, a really useful pilot, and stepping from TCR into something altogether different in the ADAC GT4. So Alex Connor, well, he looks to be fairly under pressure to me.
Menacing in the mirrors, I would say, is Trogan. He's been showing his nose, he's been weaving left and right, just trying to distract the driver ahead to make them check their mirrors and maybe miss the braking point. But Alex Connor has been good to it. One of the two kicking up the dust, including the second place Mercedes of Springbok as they come out of the 14th and final turn. It's a bad restart lap back into 18th place now, with 3 places lost for the number 84 Mercedes of Ferdinand Winter, who had a bad restart, lost a few places, but other than that, most of them stayed in true pattern. It is tricky, as you said, to overtake here, but all you can do is keep applying the pressure and try to force the driver ahead into a mistake. But you can see that the BMW of Trogan is being held up a little bit here by Connor. He's got to keep an eye on the mirrors, though, because Handke behind him will be ready to pounce in that number 34 BMW. If he tries a move, leaves the door open and doesn't quite pull it off, he's risking his own position here. But all the time, the top two are pulling away, aren't they?
Yes, as long as Alex Connor has that queue of cars behind him, it's allowing Springob and Bulatov to break three. Last time across the line, Bulatov was about 9/10 of a second ahead of Springob, who in turn was 1.2 seconds ahead of Alex Connor. But that gap looks to be increasing as we look down from our drone. Some wonderful shots here on this glorious sunny day at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena. And it is Denis Bulatov who continues to lead the way for BCMC Motorsport, powered by Eastside Motorsport, of course, Eastside, who were very much part of GT4 last year. So we continue on. Denis Bulatov leading the way. No major changes for position at the moment. And of course, it is all very much about strategy. This is a team sport. When the pit window opens, it will be the team's decision whether to pull the driver in early in the window or late in the window. And if they're in traffic, they might decide to get them in early and get the second driver out onto a clear bit of track. But then they might want to maximise the driver they perceive to be fastest. So there's all sorts of strategies that will come into this when the pit window opens, which is in about 8 minutes' time. Now, it is Nicola Moller-Madsen who's coming under the pressure from Leon Wasserthurer. So Wasserthurer, both drivers pretty experienced in ADAC GT4. He takes a little look to the inside, but nothing going on there. But behind Wasserthurer is Janis Fischer. Now keep an eye on the number 31 car, the Avia WNS Motorsport Porsche, which has Janis Fischer at the wheel, but he is also sharing with David Jahn. There's an experienced GT pilot, and very much championship contenders this year. Fischer and Jahn both caught out by the red flag in qualifying yesterday, and they are looking, well, that car is looking very good. Certainly the Porsche drivers, many of them are complaining they felt as though the balance of performance was not so much in their favour here at Oschersleben, but we think that will even out as this season goes on. But at the moment, Yanis Fitcher certainly looking fairly eager.
Drivers complaining about balance and performance. That's never, ever happened before. I can't believe it. Tom Wood has been going well from 14th on the grid. He's got to 10th place now. On the previous lap, he got ahead of the 75 Porsche of the German driver Daniel Greger. So up into the top 10 now. There was also a move up to 14th place on the previous lap from Pavel Leftorov, the Bulgarian driver in the Overdrive Racing Run Porsche. So up in the points into the top 15. And Mikael Makesh, who's come from the BMW M2 Cup, got himself up into 19th place. The top 15 score points. As you look at the 7th place, Nicola Moller-Madsen Porsche, the Danish driver in the orange and white number 6 machine, has just dropped back a little bit now, hasn't he, from Hartvig, but he's also given himself a bit more breathing space over that menacing BMW in the mirrors of Vasatora, who was all over him a couple of laps ago. Here's the overview of turn 2. It's a big sweeping hairpin really, but it's such a wide hairpin and it's very bumpy on the way in. They had to clip the curb on the way through as well, so very quickly you run out of road there and understeer, and as you can see from the replays, there are other areas of this circuit where the grass is being chewed up by cars running wide. Exploring the limits and finding just what they can do. The view on board, a replay from Nicola Moller-Madsen of the cars in front going wide and just dragging more dirt onto the track. We were looking down at Alex Connor earlier, and that is, I'm just looking to see who that is. Not entirely sure who that was, but one of the cars going wide. We're looking down at Alex Connor. He does look as though he doesn't quite have the traction that Sami Matti Trogan does, taking a much tighter line into the corner. Nico Hanke there as well. Of course, Sami Matti Trogan would love to make a challenge to get past Alex Connor, but as long as Nico Hanke and Alex Hartvig are there, although Hartvig's dropped back, if he makes a challenge and it doesn't stick, then he potentially stands to let the car behind through. So it is very much a waiting game, but Alex Connor doesn't appear to have the pace, as we can see, as Bulatov and Springov still pull clear as they cross the line. Bulatov leading by 0.942 and Springov 2.1 seconds behind that. So a bit of a gap opening up between first, second and third. And Alex Connor, how much longer can he hold on to that third place? Well, it's a better lap from Alex. That was his personal best lap, a 1 minute 30.6. So he didn't match the race leader on that lap, but he wasn't far back, but he was a tiny bit quicker than Springbob in second place. And actually third, fourth and fifth, all in the 1:30.6s, have all just done personal best lap times. The tyres working well at the moment, but they're so tight there. All of the top 7 drivers are all lapping within a tenth and a half of each other. But Connor, on the restart lap, or lap and a half after the restart, was definitely under pressure from Trogan, but he's just given himself a bit more breathing space now. He's handled that pressure really well as he goes through shot in the Muga Motorsport car, and he's just given himself a bit more breathing space. So actually Trogan is probably keeping an eye on the mirrors now rather than looking ahead, because Hanke qualified him just behind the number 34 BMW. Then you can see showing his nose in the grey car with the green trim on it, trying to find a way through. There's Moller-Madsen. You can see for the spectators, you get the digital display which shows you the initials or the first 3 letters of the driver's surname. You can see 1 or 2 moving to look up the inside here. So this was on board with Knopp in the number 8 car, trying to find a gap up the inside. And that was on the way through turn 2 on Lefterov, who gained a place 2 laps ago, but lost one to Gogolot the previous lap. So he's actually in the final points-paying position now. Knopp in the Mercedes was trying to creep up the inside to get that single championship point. Josef Knopp, who we saw last year, a fairly useful pilot in one of the BWT cars. The other one is the one that has been very much in our focus, the number 18 with Alex Connor, that he is sharing driving duties with Emil Yedrum, and we'll talk some more about him when he gets into the driving seat in a few moments. Not too many close challenges going on at the moment, although this one with Pavel Lefterov continues to rock on, doesn't it? Josef Knopp in the other BWT Muga Motorsport Mercedes AMGs, and he is sharing driving duties this weekend with Rodrigo Almeida. Great to welcome the Mozambique driver here to GT4 Germany. Pavel Lefterov, who shares with Stefan Bastanchev. They are a very potent driver combination, have always been there or thereabout, had a season last year that they were both fairly disappointed with, and had high hopes this weekend, but for a troubled qualifying session because that red flag didn't quite start where they'd hoped to. But Pavel Lefterov will always be there and thereabouts, and Stefan Bastanchev
also ready to take over. Now further behind, the 84 car being driven by Ferdinand Winter. He is challenging and being challenged at the same time, and it's Michael Marquez who's in there as well. We ride on board with the Toyota, the Piro Sports Toyota of Robin Falkenbach. Falkenbach currently in 17th place, so out of the points. A lot of work to do from there in that Toyota Supra.
We'll talk about close. Through the first sector, the first 5 drivers all did 31.5s and were split all of their lap or sector times by 20 thousandths per second. So it is very cagey out there, and it shows, doesn't it, Brian, that with it being so evenly matched on circuit, the pit stops when we get to them are going to be crucial, because you can easily lose a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds if we get a replay of a little bit of paintwork being swapped there and traded with Michael Marquez in the 54 Project 1 BMW, just being sent a little bit wide there in that battle just outside the points. He's currently running in 18th place. We get more side-by-side action though here in the battle for 4th place. Again, Hanke showing his nose to try and get through. And there in the background, we've got a battle raging on with the Toyota of Falkenbach and Winter, who are nose to tail and were side-by-side coming out of that previous corner, but they're battling for 17th place at the moment.
We saw that battle earlier on between the number 20 and 23 car, Pavel Lefterov, and also Philip Gogolok. The stewards have told them to swap positions, but now it is Gogolok who is coming under pressure as well. So he is not having the best of times as he is challenged further back. And now this is Alex Connor in the number 8 car. No, it's Josef Knott, beg your pardon, the other of the BWT cars. And that is the number 20 of Philip Gogolok. So Gogolok very much in the action here. And
gets him back. Nopper got him on the inside. He gets him back on the better run coming out of 13 and into the final turn. There's carnage in the background. 2 cars have made contact, gone off. One of them is the number 26 Tom Kiefer Porsche, and that is buried in the gravel trap. He's not getting out of there. The other car in the background, look, he's going to get going again.
Safety car, it's got to be.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Got to be.
And it was the number 30 Porsche that Max Kronenberg is driving for this first stint that was involved in that. Gets going again, but the other one is stuck. So the 2 Porsches coming together, and we're getting close to the pit stop window as well. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, you're right. The safety car is potential. There's damage to the back of the car, like with bodywork hanging off that Porsche. The radiator's gone on the Porsche. There, you hit the car in front in a Porsche, and you always risk damage to the radiator. So that looks like the radiator is gone. And even if he could get out of the gravel trap, the car is going nowhere. But for now, it's a full course yellow there.
Right, and our race steward does try to do full course yellow wherever possible, particularly when it's close to the pit stop window, and to try and avoid drivers gaining an advantage by a safety car during the pit stop window. So you can see it's full course yellow at the moment, so drivers are required to reduce their speed to 80 kilometers an hour. We are having a look again at the contact that was between him, Max Kronberg, and the number 26 of Tom Kiefer. Of course, Kiefer and Christian Koch are the reigning trophy champions, and we're looking to defend that. So both of our reigning champions out of this race. The overall champion, Mike David Ortman, Hugo Sasser, and now also Tom Kiefer and Christian Koch. Chicane? What chicane? This Philip Gogolok going the wrong side of the bollards. That is what will have attracted the attention of the stewards.
Yeah, he'd already lost a place on that earlier on in that lap to Lefterov in the Porsche. And then, yeah, trying to defend his own place, went straight on through a chicane. And then we saw, coming through the last turn, that battle with Knopp and Gogolok. Gogolok has managed to hold on just about to the final points-paying position. But the 2 Mercedes were really going at it. The pink one of Knopp did briefly get in front, but at the end of the lap, coming into turn 14 with a better run out of 13, Gogolok got that final championship points-paying position back. So this is not good news for the top 2, who are relatively close together anyway, but now, of course, they've got everybody else. They've built a pretty good gap of a second and a half or so, and Connor and Trogan and Hanke in 3rd, 4th and 5th are all going to be back on their tail now as our stricken driver out of the car. There's a chat with the marshals about what's going to happen here to get the car back to safety and back to the pits. But full course yellow for now, as you say. Everybody single file has to slow down to 80k, no overtaking, and it will be. There'll be a few changes. You shouldn't really get any closer to the car in front when there's a safety car, but sometimes you do. Good
Careful,
balance.
chap. Careful.
Balancing out there.
And there's the body language that says it all. There was a lot of damage to that Allied Racing Porsche, wasn't there? So disconsolately, Tom Kiefer, the Luxembourgian driver, disappears off and is right, oh, I'll stuff that. I'm going for a cup of tea. Sadly, Christian Koch will not get a turn in the seat today, but they'll get that car repaired, no doubt at all, and that'll be back tomorrow. The full course yellow, it means the drivers have to circulate at 80 kilometres an hour, but the gaps have closed up somewhat, and I think it's inevitable when you have that full course yellow situation. Different drivers
slow down at different
backing
times,
off at different times in different places. So
it's more like a second now, isn't it? The gap from second to third.
Yeah, and that lead that Bulatov and Springov had has closed back up. Now, Alex Connor, it's a good opportunity for him to just cool his tyres a little bit, to regather himself. It's very much in the deep end for Alex Connor, his first ADAC GT4 Germany event. He's a British driver, but who lives in the United Arab Emirates and switches from Formula Racing to GT Racing. On board with Josip Knopp. Here's a driver that's been in the wars, and that was the contact with Philip Gogolok. And unsettling the Mercedes. It's a Merc versus Merc, and that is what caused Gogolok to go the wrong side of those bollards.
Yeah, in fairness, the car was was trying to get control of it, wasn't he, after the contact? And the contact was because he'd had the battle just before that. We'd left her off, lost the position, and he was slightly on the back foot. And of course, Knopp was trying to take advantage as well. Great rear-facing camera from the Mercedes. Looking back at the other Mercedes, with Gogolok there on board with Knopp in this battle at the tail end of the points, and that was a really good move from Knopp, but it was one that wouldn't last too long. He thought he got the job done there on a circuit where it's tricky to overtake, but he was then repassed right at the end of the lap. That's the back of the other car that was involved in the incident that's brought about the full course yellow of Kronberg. Looking a bit second-hand, but largely okay, I think, so should be all right. But that car, that incident between the two cars has been, surprise, surprise, reported to the stewards, so they're going to look into that. But for now, no further action taken. But the race leader for now still behind the full course yellow. We have we're counting down now with 34 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock, so we're into that window now of 15 minutes where they have to come and make their mandatory stop.
Yes, 35 minutes remaining of the race. The pit window open, the first pit window of 2023. You can see the clock ticking down in your graphics. So Michael Marquez has already pitted. He will be handing the driving duties over to Maxime Osten. We are really excited to have that duo in the ADAC GT4 this year, but an early stop for them. Keep an eye on that grey P graphic. If the P turns red, well, nobody likes red P because it means they're going to be picking up a penalty and they've gone below the minimum pit stop time. Our race director, Sven Stopper, he's pretty hot on these things, and even a fraction of a second under that 95-second time, and a penalty will be incoming. A number of other cars now peeling off, and we are back to green flag racing. So it is Denis Bulatov who leads the cars across the line. Jan-Philipp Springov, Alex Connor now with a little less pressure behind. Into the pits comes one of the Volkenhorst BMWs.
Okay,
so. Which one is it?
Mikhail Marquez, I think.
Ah, yes, it is Marquez. We saw him earlier, didn't we? So into the pits he comes, and the number 15, and that is it 15? Yes, it is. It's 35. Yeah, I need new glasses. Should have gone to Specsavers. Sammy Mantrogan, who will be handing over to Enzo Giuli, and that is in the Volkenhorst BMW. What a great team to have on the ADAC GT4 grid. Lots of other cars coming in, but our leaders at the moment, well, Bulatov stays out, but Springov has peeled off in. Has he yet? No, I beg your pardon. Springov is still out on track, as indeed is Alex Connor and Nico Hanke. Robin Falkenbach, having completed his first stint of the season in the Toyota Supra GT4, into the pits. He comes. He will be handing over to the boss of Pirro Sports, Cedric Pirro, who will be jumping into the driving seat. So out of the car gets Robin Falkenbach, removes his seat insert if required, and then in comes Cedric Pirro. And it is now Robin Falkenbach's job to help to get Cedric Pirro buckled up. And there's a limited number of mechanics that are allowed to work on the car. 2 mechanics allowed to work on the car at any one time. So the outgoing driver helps the incoming driver in every way possible, helps him to get buckled up. The race logic system on the dashboard will be ticking down, and the driver will know exactly when to pull out. The plan will be to hit the pit exit line when the clock strikes 0. But as already mentioned, you don't want to get it wrong. So it's a really fine line. You stationary for too long, you're going to lose an awful lot of space, particularly when the field is this close together.
Yeah, absolutely right. So trying to gain tenths of a second, you can gain half a second, you can possibly gain a couple of track positions once it all settles down. But don't get the penalty, because that's race over. So it'll seem like an eternity for the driver that's got in before they are told, right, you can go now, adhere to the pit lane speed limit. And hopefully the team has timed it to near perfection. At the head of the field, Bolotov, Springbob and Connor still the top 3. Connor got a bit closer to them in the middle of the lap, but at the end of the lap, sector 3 dropped back again, so that gap has grown from second to third to what it was at the beginning of the restart, just over a second. The other one that came in from the points was Gregor, so he's coming in the 75 car as well, and a few in fact, around about half the field have come in now, but most of them from the second half of the field. Most of the front-running group are yet to come in, but time will tick down very quickly in this very narrow 15-minute window.
In fact, 4¼ minutes left in the pit window before it closes. You can see from the dark green P next to the driver's name, that means that they have changed. So a whole new batch of drivers for us to get confused with out onto the track, but still the top 12 on those graphics still out at the moment. The pit window will be closing in about 4½ minutes, just under that.
Hanke's come into the pits now from that lead group, so that's the first one from the top 6 to come in, and apart from the Gorgon car that came in on the previous lap, he's dived for the pits. So Moller, Hartvig moves up to 4th, Moller Madsen up to 5th, and Vassentura moves up to 6th for the time being.
So Dennis Bolotov still leads the way. He has done a fantastic job in that Mercedes, and I would suggest with an open track in front of him, the team will probably leave him out till quite late in the window. Marcel Lenez will be the driver taking over him when he does have his pit stop. Dennis Bolotov, of all people, will know that he doesn't want to miss the pit window. He did that last year at one event, Red Bull Ring I think it was, and received a penalty that was in the minutes rather than the seconds. So Bolotov will be very aware, but he'll want to maximise the position he's in. He's got an open track. He's clearly got a handle of that Mercedes, so he'll want to stay out a long time. Right, a challenge is for positions further back, and that is Leon Vassenthura, who is now under pressure from Tom Wood in the number 15. So Tom Wood finding a route past Leon Vassenthura. That is for 6th place. So the British driver getting a route past one BMW, past another. Behind them, Yanis Fitcher still holding on, but Fitcher ducks off into the pits. He'll be handing over to David Yarn. So onto the pit straight we come, and it's a great move from Tom Wood. It looked like he caught Vassenthura napping a little bit into turn 1. I don't think Vassenthura is going to be able to challenge him back, is he? Into turn 1 in 6th place. So BMW versus BMW bumping over the curbs. Tom Wood, who came so close to winning his first race in ADAC GT4 last year at Oschersleben. I've never seen anyone so disappointed with a 2nd place finish. This year, really looking to put things right. He switched from Aston Martin to BMW, put that deal together quite late on before the season started for FK Performance, and he's sharing with Mo Ritson, an all-English duo, and that will be very spectacular as this season progresses. Leon Vassenthura, who shares driving duties with Tim Reiter, doesn't really look to have anything for Wood.
No, just keeping an eye on this battle when the second comes in of those BMWs that were battling for 4th and 5th positions, because the first that came in was the number 35 car that was at the start driven by Sami Matti-Troggen. That's swapped now to Enzo Giuli, but we have had the lap after that 34 car that he was just behind coming in. Nico Handke's handed over to Max Jensen now, and Jensen is ahead. So the 34 car comes out in 12th place, Giuli the 35 car in 13th. So those two have switched positions now in what potentially, when it all unravels, will be the battle for 4th place.
Springob into the pits. He's going to be handing over to Simon Connor Prim for CV Performance Group, keeping to the speed limit. So he is in now. We are just left with 9 cars who haven't come into the pit. There are more coming in behind, but it's Springob that we're looking at here in that Mercedes. That speed limit is going to feel very, very slow indeed coming down the pit lane. He will pull in and hand over. And it is Simon Connor Prim, a driver that we've seen primarily in Aston Martins in the past, and now at the wheel of the CV Performance Group Mercedes. He jumps in, and Springob now helping him to get buckled up, ready to rejoin the race. We're getting quite late on in the window, just a minute and a quarter remaining. The top 5 are still out on track, so leaving it very late in the window, and they will be in very shortly. That is Cedric Pirot doing a little bit of rallycross and shortening one of our billboards. Thank you very much for that. He's rejoined, doesn't look like he's done any damage, but those tyres will take a few corners to clean up, get the traction back. The number 12 car currently in 18th place. Of course, when the pit window closes, he will gain a few places as a result of that. But that is not going to help his cause at all as we look at Simon Connor Prim ready to take over, having relieved Jan-Philipp Springob of the driving seat. Right, is this Bolotov into the lead, into the pits? I'm trying to see who that is that's coming into the pits. Our leader, who needs to hand it over to his co-driver as the pit window closes. Yes, it was Bolotov. Also in Alex Connor. And he will be handing over to Emil Jedrum, another driver, the Norwegian, who will be making his debut in ADAC GT4 Germany. So everybody has come in apart from Pavel Lefterov, and he will be in very shortly. Just looking to see where he is. He'll be in this time around. Hand over to Stefan Bastantiev.
So that battle for the cars that were 4th and 5th, number 35 BMW ahead of the 34 car still. So Johnson looked like he might just sneak ahead, but Julie, who's now driving the 35 car, is a good 3.4 seconds clear. So that has worked out well, because they were more or less nose to tail. So the car's 4th and 5th, still potentially going to be 4th and 5th, or maybe Julie could be about to get that BMW up into the top 3, because, as I say, it looked like a good in-lap, a good out-lap, and a pit stop that was timed to perfection. So Bolotov handing over the race-leading Mercedes AMG now to Marcel Lenertz, who will be sent down the pit lane, and Alex Connor, who was into the pits just over 2 seconds adrift in the 18 car. It's not really fighting for second, potentially, with Emil Jedrum now behind the wheel of the car. They're looking at holding on to the final spot on the podium, which is, I think, potentially under threat here from that BMW I mentioned.
Keep an eye on Simon Connor Prim as he comes around to see where he is going to be when the number 4 car with Marcel Lenez at the wheel emerges from the pits. This is going to be for the lead of the race, and it looks to me as though Lenez should be ahead, and out of the pit lane he comes, rejoins on the outside of turn 2, and that has been a very successful pit stop for our race leader. So Denis Bolotov has handed it over to Marcel Lenez, and it looks like he has done a cracking job. We've got a red P though next to car number 4, our race leader. The red P would indicate that he has fallen short on the pit stop time. If that is the case, he is going to be likely to be visiting the penalty box. So we'll keep an eye on our timing screens, but our race leader, Marcel Lenez, with what looks like potentially going below the minimum pit stop time. Disaster incoming.
Yeah, nightmare. So got to get the head down now and pull as much of a gap as possible, which certainly got at the moment. So yeah, it's certainly a bigger gap than he had over the second place car before. And in the background, the 18 ADAC Motorsport car going wide, the Mercedes there. So that was the car. It was started by Alex Connor. Now it's Emil Jedrum, the Norwegian driver that just put 2 wheels on the grass there, which cost him a place potentially. So that might not be a podium position car anymore when they all filter through at the end of the lap.
So we're keeping an eye on our screens, and we have a penalty lap awarded for car number 4. It's just popped up on our timing screen. So you will have seen a white box that is painted on the exit of turn 3. And the car number 4 will need to reduce his speed to 50 kilometers an hour. It's a 200-meter box. He will need to pass through that box for 1 lap at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. That is going to equate to something like a 5-second penalty. That will force him to surrender the lead. You can see there the confirmation of the graphic on your screen. The car that has dominated this race so far, firstly in the hands of Denis Bolotov, now in the hands of Marcel Lenez. There's the penalty box. hazard lights on, down to a crawling speed now, nail the accelerator, but he surrenders the lead and he surrenders second place into third place. Marcel Lenez, disaster. Simon Connor Prim, it's Christmas. He's taken the lead and it's Enzo Giuli into second place.
Yeah, Enzo Giuli in the number 35 BMW from being fourth before the pit stop window has ended up now being in second place because both he and the 34 BMW now driven by Janssen got ahead of the pink Muka Motorsport Mercedes and number 18 car in fifth place. One got past during the pit stop window, the other one got past when we saw the Muka car running wide. So the Mercedes, number 18 of Jedram, now down into fifth position.
What a challenge this is. What a fight. Simon Connor Prim, who has done so many laps in the ADAC GT4 Germany. The young upstart, Enzo Giuli, now tracing him, tracking his every move out onto the pit straight. This is going to be a great overtaking opportunity. Is he close enough? Probably not. Picking up a slipstream as they head towards turn one, flashing the lights, trying to distract him. Marcel Lenez down in third. The first and the seconds remaining as they were, but the challenge for the lead, game on. It is Simon Connor Prim under pressure from the BMW behind, Marcel Lenez, and then Max Janssen in there as well. Mercedes versus BMW versus Mercedes versus BMW, and just behind them, another Mercedes, Emil Jedram.
The Mo Ritson BMW into 8th place on that lap, getting ahead of the Porsche that was driven by Nicola Molomanza, the number 6 car, which is now driven by his teammate Eric Scalvini, the Italian driver. So Ritson, who took over the car from Tom Wood, that car up to 8th place now, number 15, having started all the way back in 14th spot on the grid. So they're going really well. Meanwhile, in the background, you can see Lenertz really having to work hard just to try and stay on the podium now for that run through the penalty box. Number 4, Mercedes, is only just ahead of the 34 BMW of Janssen.
I should think that Denis Bulatov is sat around the back with his head in his hands at the moment. That is a disaster after such a dominant display. Now Janssen looking to the outside, ducking back to the inside. Surely only a matter of time because Janssen is looking the quicker of the two past the wrecked billboard. This is the fight for the last of the podium positions. 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got all 4 cars in one shot. There we go as they head down the pit straight. It doesn't look like it's going to be a challenge for the lead, but it does look like there might be a challenge for third, the last of the podium positions. Into turn one we come. Will he duck to the inside? Will he duck to the outside? He holds on at the moment, but Marcel Lenez under immense pressure. He runs deep into turn two, still holding on to that position. How can he hold on to this for another 19 minutes plus 1 lap? Surely the pressure is going to be too great. Now looking to the outside on Hasseröder. And still, Janssen can't find a route past this track. So difficult to overtake on. The 1, 2, 3 remains the same, but this is all to play for.
It's all gone wrong for the number 6 Porsche. The ADAC Motorsport car now driven by Eric Scalvini lost 3 more places on that lap. So he's down to 12th now. In the background of these battles, just been seeing a huge scrap going on for 6th place as well between number 22 Schaap, number 31 Jan, and 15 Ritson in that 8th place BMW. The only one that's on his own really in the top 10 is the car in 5th place of Jedram, the Norwegian, in the Mercedes, all alone in the background there, but behind lots of battles raging. And ahead 2 battles, one for the lead, one for 3rd place. Now having to go super defensive is Lenertz now as they come under braking into the right hand. If you go too tight on the way in there, it makes you go wide on the way out of the corner, so he clips the curb, and all over him in the mirrors is the BMW showing his nose left and to try and cut back to the right, but again, quite no way through. And again, it's the same sort of battle going on for the lead of the race as they come out of turn 14.
I don't know where to look next. What great racing from the ADAC GT4 Germany. 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th. A fairly lonely 5th place, Emil Jedram down there in the pink BWT car. But look at this, the battle for the lead. Look at this, the battle for 3rd as well. They're running into the hotel turn. You've got to get this right. Any mistakes here, you're going to be in the ground. Look at him sliding the car around the corner. The tyres, having had 45 minutes of racing, are crying enough, but still holding on.
Well, Ritson's gained another place up to 7th now in the number 15 BMW. They had a storming drive, 14th to 7th now. It's got ahead of Jan in the Porsche, the number 31 car. These great battles going on. Eric Joly in that second place BMW was just doing Tokyo drift all the way through the right hander, wasn't he? Absolute tank slapper, but it looked great and didn't seem to lose too much traction out of the corner. But Lennart's here, he's having to dig really deep. It's going to be an eternity this last 17 minutes to try and keep that BMW of Janssen behind him, because Janssen is really looking menacing now. Looks the quicker of the two. If he can get past him quick enough, if the top two hold each other up, Brian, then there's no reason he can't battle for the lead of the race. But he needs first to get past the former race leading car. He shows his nose again, but again, there is no way through, no opportunity to gain a place, and he has to sit tight and follow your leader again. And the longer it goes on, the harder it becomes, because you lose the element of surprise. The driver ahead knows where you're stronger, knows where to defend, and getting frustrated now in that BMW is Janssen.
I have to tell you that Max Janssen is just 16 years old. He has no fear whatsoever. He is giving it full beans. He's one of these many up-and-coming racers who have come through sim racing and all sorts of other things. They know their stuff. Max Janssen, on his debut in ADAC GT4 Germany, looking the raciest of the top four in a lot of ways. As you say, if he can get past Marcel Linares, he could potentially close in on the leaders, but time is running out. We're into the final quarter of the race. We're looking further back at Nathan Schaap in 6th place and David Jan. David Jan, who has done many, many years experience. Oh, and there's a car running wide, one of the BMWs.
Yeah, it's Osten, last year's BMW M2 Cup champion, who just took out another of the advertising boardings. And yet, at the head of this battle, they swapped around again at the end of the previous lap. So Ritson had got ahead of Jan, but the BMW is now back behind him, and the 31 Jan car leading this train, which is fighting over 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th.
Whoever told you that you couldn't overtake at Oschersleben had not seen this race, because there are places changing all over the place. And certainly fighting for the points paid down into 15th place as we look at Tim Reiter in the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW. Right, we're taking another look at the run wide through the billboard and shortening the publicity somewhat. And there's the view on board with Eric Scalvini, who took over from Nicola Moller-Madsen. He runs through the dust cloud, just keeps his foot buried on it. And Maxime Osten, he's learning very much what it's like to drive GT4 Germany, one of the toughest GT4 categories in the world. And he is certainly having a baptism of fire in this. There's your 1, 2, 3, 4, two separate battles. Both have calmed down for the moment, but it's not all over yet by any stretch of the imagination. There was Emil Yedrum running on his own, then this battle. Nathan Schaap with David Jan, and then Mo Ritson and Finn Zulaf also there with Maxime Osten. Tim Reiter in 11th and Eric Scalvini rounding out the top 12. We haven't even mentioned Teo Noe yet, a really experienced pilot in the 007 car in 13th, ahead of Jeske Batman in 14th. Great to have Jeske Batman here along with her brother Andrea. We've seen them many times in TCR Germany, and it's great to have them here in something completely different, ADAC GT4 Germany. Right, back to the lead battle. Enzo Juli once again flashing the lights, and further back Max Janssen still challenging Marcel Linares, and Linares doing everything to try and keep that Mercedes on the racing line. Janssen looks to the outside, he's going to cut back to the inside. Linares knows he just needs to keep the car in that right position and he can keep the BMW behind, but this is the point where he's most in danger. Along the pit straight they come. Max Janssen, now he's going to have the outside line into turn 1. Surely he's not going to go round the outside of the Mercedes, is he? It's last of the late breakers. Here they go. Linares still has that line. Jensen, though, he's going to be to the inside as they go round the hotel turn, and onto the podium positions is Max Janssen. Finally, it was always going to happen, was it? Marcel Linares just didn't have the legs to hold off the might of that BMW.
Oh, it was a great move from Janssen. He set it up beautifully, didn't he? From the end of the previous lap. He was on the outside for turn 1, but he knew he'd be on the inside if he could just stay there for this right-hander at turn 2. He was utterly committed to the move, really, from the moment the pair of them came out onto the start-finish straight, and just squeezed through. Janssen with a A terrific move. Lennox had been bravely defending, hadn't he, for lap after lap after lap. There's no doubt about it, the BMW was the quicker of the two, and he just couldn't fend him off. But he's lost a lot of time to the two leaders now in trying to get past and into third place, past that Mercedes. So all he can do now is hope that Prim and Julie get into a big battle, get his head down, get some quick lap times in, and try and fight hard. Here's the battle for sixth place then, coming out onto the straight with the blue and green Porsche of Schaap, still with his mirrors full here of the blue and white machine of Jan, who weaves right then weaves left and tries to off-put him, but stays where he is for the time being.
We're keeping an eye on the timing screens. 3.346 seconds is the gap between Julie and Lenez. We're going to be interested to see whether he can close that up at all in the remaining few moments of this race. Well, no, he's lost about another tenth as the screens refresh. And that is Scalvini, who goes a-spinning at the hands of Teo Noe by the looks of things. I didn't see the start of that, but Scalvini into the hotel turn. There's the hotel on the left. That notorious corner, he drifts wide, and it looks like he's been tagged by Teo Noe, and the car gets turned around. Eric Scalvini, an expert in TCR Germany, now the ADAC Motorsport decided to go into ADAC GT4 Germany, and he's left pointing in the wrong direction.
And Jan's got ahead of Schaap while we're looking at that, so he's got that number 31 Porsche into sixth place. Schaap, who's defending from him, we saw them weaving in the mirrors as they went through the shot last time, but Jan got through somewhere at the end of the lap. So 31 Porsche up to sixth, the 22 Porsche down to seventh. Ritzen's BMW in eighth, and Maxime Osten, who was on the grass a couple of laps ago, has got himself up to ninth place on that lap now because he moved ahead of the 75 Porsche of Zulauf. So a couple of changes there inside the top 10.
The battle for the lead continues to rage on. Simon Conner-Prim and Enzo Giuli, still another 10 minutes of this race remaining, and the car of David Jan, the number 31, having broken free of that battle. We always knew he was going to be strong. A driver who has been a contender in GT Masters over many years, and we've seen him in GT3, GT4, and when he teamed up with Janis Fitcher for GT4 Germany 2023, we knew he would be very strong. Now leaving behind Nathan Schaap in the Allied Racing car. One of the young chargers, Jan Kasperlik of Allied Racing, the owner of Allied Racing, he can spot the talent from about a million miles away, and he puts them in the seats, and he has nurtured so many superstars that we see in other categories. A great ladder coming up through GT4 Germany, and Nathan Schaap, one of the drivers that he can see real potential in. But at the moment, it's Mo Ritson who is filling the mirrors of Nathan Schaap's car. Mo Ritson, a real charger himself, along with Tom Wood, and looking very useful indeed. But Maxime Osten, another of the young chargers, the outgoing BMW M2 Cup champion, now mixing it right in the battle there. Finn Zulauf, he's done well in 10th place. Tim Reiter, and of course Teo Noe further back after that earlier incident.
Yeah, after that spin that we saw from Scalvini, he's still in the points, but only just in 15th place, and he's got the number 8 Mercedes of Almeida right behind him. So Almeida is only a couple of tenths further back. Last laps for the top three. The leader, 131.4, 131.2s for Julie and Janssen. So the gap staying about the same from second to third. A replay of more dust being kicked up. You don't get much of a view if you're behind somebody running wide, do you? You just get completely blinded by that cloud of dust from the dry grass. And of course, the more that happens, the more they bring the dust back onto the track, and the slippier it becomes for everybody else.
Looking back at Gabriel Piana from the perspective of Rodrigo Almeida. Of course, Gabriel Piana, a former champion, the 2021 champion, ADAC GT4 Germany. By his own admission, not really looking for the title this year, along with Marat Kairov, very much nurturing and training the young drivers. But Gabriel Piana, he is very quick in that number 2 Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport car. The lead battle still continues. It's Mercedes versus BMW. Advantage Mercedes at the moment, but Enzo Giuli is starting to look like he's running out of patience. Simon Conner-Prim starting to look to me like he might be running out of grip a little bit. He's been pushing quite hard, taking a very deep line into the corners. Chicane, watch chicane, just plough on through, straight over they go. But Simon Conner-Prim, he's got another 7 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap to hold off that car behind. And I think Enzo Giuli has his eyes very much on the top step of the podium. Max Jansen in 3rd place. He's taken about 3 tenths out of the lead battle. but time is running out, and without some kind of safety car or coming together the first two cars, he's going to struggle to get involved in the fight for the top step.
But if he keeps his head down, puts in a few more laps like that, and these two start to trip over each other, he might just get onto them by the end of the race, because that was, as you say, a good lap last time around for Janssen, 3/10 quicker. It was a fraction quicker at the start of this lap as well. They go through, and 1:31.6 for the leader, 1:31.7 for Julian second, and a 1:31.3 for Janssen. So that's another 3/10 gain. So he's gained 3/4 of a second in 2 laps, and he gets the gap from second to third down to 2.7 seconds now.
Yes, it's not all over yet, is it? Oh no, Eric Scalvini in yet more dramas. So Scalvini, having taken over from Nikolai Moller-Madsen, the front of that Porsche looks like it's seen a fair bit of action. Now being passed by Cedric Pirot, who was in 18th place. So I think Scalvini very much in at the deep end here. It's his first race in ADAC GT4 Germany, a very different discipline to TCR Germany, which is what we saw him in previously.
I think he was helped on the way, wasn't he?
Yes, he was, by the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport of Gabriel Piana. And yeah, he really has been very much in the wars in this race as Scalvini. So that was his view. It was a Code Brown moment as the car spins around and cars scattering to avoid him. He keeps it out of the gravel trap, but now Scalvini well out of the points, and it looks as though Piana survived without too much damage as we looked back from the Rodrigo Almeida car. So Scalvini rejoins, dragging all sorts of gravel and nonsense behind him. Hendrik still in the number 30 car. He's the one who took over from Max Kronberg. But Scalvini now well out of the points and towards the back of the pack. At the other end of the field, our race leaders continue to challenge each other. Simon Conner-Prim has broken clear of Enzo Juli for the time being, but I'm wondering whether Juli is just backing off, building it up, getting the tyres in the right place for one last assault as we approach the final 5 minutes of this race 1 of a 12-race season in the ADAC GT4 Germany.
Maxime Oosten's gained another place. He's got ahead of Mo Ritson on that lap. The two BMWs switch around. The 54 car of the young Dutch driver, the very tall Dutch teenager Oosten, is into 8th place now. And they see he's got one more to get past in this queue, which is going to be Schaap in the Porsche. And for causing a collision, the number 2 car, which is driven by Piana, we saw that contact, is now going to get the BMW a run through the penalty. So a penalty lap for that one. That problem for Scalvini, that nudge in the subsequent spin, put him down to 19th place, which means Almeida in the number 8 Porsche has got that final championship point now in 15th place, and Max Oosten is all over the back of the Porsche of Schaap here as he tries to get himself up into 7th place. So he's a great gutsy young driver. He had some great races in the BMW M2 Cup on the way into the championship win last year. Pulled off some great overtakes, and he's a driver that does commit to move. So he cheekily flashes his lights now to try and distract the driver ahead and find a way through. And he certainly looks the quicker of the two at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah, Mo Ritson is waiting there as well, because if Oosten makes the challenge and it doesn't stick, you know that Ritson is going to fill that gap. He looks to the outside as well. So Mo Ritson, though, he in turn coming under pressure from Finn Zulauf. So Zulauf suddenly in on the scene as well. Tim Wright is there as well at the back of that. But Oosten now under pressure from Mo Ritson as well. So really great battling here. That's allowing Nathan Schaap just to pull away a little bit from this battle. Suddenly, Oosten has got his mirrors full, and he's struggling to challenge without losing that place to Mo Ritson. Meanwhile, Gabriel Piana, that penalty lap is in fact 3 penalty laps. He's going to have to pass through the penalty box for 3 laps. That's going to equate to about a 15-second drop in the standings. Still, the fight continues. This is for 7th place. Nathan Schaap in the Porsche. Max Oosten behind with Mo Ritson in the BMW. 2 BMWs behind the Porsche. Now, Oosten has a bit of a space from the car behind. Ritson has dropped back a little. This is his opportunity to challenge Schaap, with Ritson no longer on his back bumper. And he is chasing that Porsche. He tries to have a look, but this is not really a regular place to overtake. You see Schaap moving across to block him. Oosten to the outside under braking into the corner. He's not going to get past there. Is he going to duck back to the inside, trying to pressure Schaap into making a mistake? Now he finds a gap. They run alongside, but Schaap has the line into the next corner. A little helping hand. Come on, move along into the final turn. Now, this is where it's going to kick off along the pit straight towards turn 1. This could go anywhere at all because Mo Ritson suddenly is back with Maxime Oosten. So Oosten suddenly under pressure once again in towards turn 1. Finn Zulav in there as well. He's looking very racy. Finn Zulav putting the pressure onto Mo Ritson. If Ritson tries to make that challenge on Oosten, he's just going to let Zulav in.
Yeah, fantastic battling, absolutely nose to tail, bit of paint traded there as well. Oosten's now beginning to come back at the Porsche again. He's just able to get that BMW into the corners that little bit later, isn't he? And closing in, we've got a yellow in turn 5, so not going to be able to overtake there. So yellow flags at turn 5. Somebody's had a trip off, and here's a replay of just how close it got here. Coming into the corner, he got on the gas, tried to accelerate, but there was no BMW-sized gap for him to come through, so he nudged the right rear corner of the number 22 Porsche of Schaap, helped him on his way, and actually then, as you say, came under fire from the blue and yellow BMW of Mo Ritson, didn't he?
Yes, and I expect the tyres are probably in their absolute last breath of life here, having been running for an hour. Of course, tyre change is not allowed in ADAC GT4 Germany, and Simon Connor Prim continues to lead the way from Enzo Juli. That's the number 19 car, and it is Jessica Batman. Yeah, oh, what a shame, who's taken over from Andrea Batman. Now, if we can get through this, because if a safety car comes out now, we're going to finish under a safety car. I wonder whether our race director is going to try and let this run the distance with the number 19 car buried in the gravel trap there. Such a shame. Andreas Batman did a great job. Jessica's taken over his younger sister, but that car stranded in a fairly vulnerable position. The yellows will be waving, so there'll certainly be no challenger's position.
It's just on the way to turn 7, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so that car stranded there. It would be really good if we could finish this race under green flag conditions. We have 20 seconds plus 1 lap. Looking for our race leader, currently up around turn 8. So if the race is to run its full duration, it'll be the remainder of this lap plus 1 more for Simon Connor Prim, who has been holding off Enzo Juli with remarkable valour for much of this race. And it does look as though Juli perhaps has run out of ideas how he's going to get past that Mercedes.
Maxime Oosten has got a warning for that contact that we saw with Schaap, so he's being kept an eye on. In the background, in 3rd place, Janssen is really working hard to try and close up to the top 2. It looks like he's going to run out of time, but the gap was 3.5 seconds when he got into 3rd. It's only 1.5, but as you can see, we're on to the final lap of the race. The top 2 look set. Prim and Juli. Janssen trying to catch them, but I think he's going to run out of time.
What a great job by Max Janssen, and he must be thinking about what he could have done had he got past Marcel Lenez just a bit quicker, because clearly of the 3 he is the quickest, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything about it in this, the final lap of the first race of the season for the ADAC GT4 Germany under the blue skies here at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena. Still the battles rage on. Nathan Schaap still holding on to that 7th place with Max Oosten with that warning over him, and Mo Ritson, Finn Zulav and Tim Reiter. If anybody makes the move, they could so easily let the car in behind, and it's Nathan Schaap who's making that the widest Porsche in the whole of Germany, holding off Max Oosten still. We've got yellows in turns 6 and 7. That relates to the Jessica Batman car, which is stranded in the gravel trap. Simon Connor Prim now towards turn 11 for the very last time. Enzo Juli pretty well settling for 2nd place. Max Janssen, probably driver of the race really, through into 3rd place, well ahead of Marcel Lenez, our long-time race leader, along with Denis Bulatov down in 4th. But into the final corner comes Simon Connor Prim. It's first blood to the number 85 CV Performance Group Mercedes. Simon Connor Prim and Jan-Philipp Springhob, who win ahead of Enzo Juli, along with Sami Matti Trogan and Max Janssen in the number 34. Brilliant job, along with Nico Hanke taking the last of the podium positions. A fairly long wait for it was Marcel Lenez and also Denis Bulatov. Then a long wait for the 5th place car. The battle's still raging on, and onto the gravel. Max Osteen, and he loses a handful of places on the line. So Nathan Schaap holding on to 7th, and Osteen dropping back into 11th place. He made that last challenge. It was a do-or-die move, but all he's done has allowed Mo Ritson up into 8th place.
Well, the entertainer, wasn't he, Maxime Osteen? I knew he was going to go for it. He was lining it up for the last half of the lap, and he's the sort of driver that goes for those moves. In the end, it's cost him 3 places. He drops from 8th to 11th, but he was certainly not for the lack of trying. He just tried to get his gas down early around the outside of the Porsche, but the Porsche on the racing line, he ran out of road then through the gravel trap, and gravel is not as grippy as asphalt, so when he tried to get the power down, there was a lot of wheel spin. 3 cars beat him to the line. That's why he dropped to 11th place, but he was certainly very entertaining. It's going to be an interesting driver line at that, because he had a good start with Mikael Marquez, who we'd raced with in the BMW M2 Cup last year. But well done to our race winners, Simon Connor Prim, who took the flag and took the car home, and Jan-Philipp Springorb, who really did control, didn't he, the start of the race from pole position. The restart early on after the incident, which involved Mike David Ortman, and then he built just enough of a cushion to keep that lead for the post-driver change in the second half of the race. But Prim had to work hard to defend from Julie, and then we had that great battle for 3rd place between Lennertz and Janssen, who finally got through with a really good move to get the final podium position in the BMW.
Brilliant stuff. What an entertaining race. I think hearts go out to the number 4 car, Dennis Bulatov, Marcel Lenez, having done all the hard work with the pole position. Car 22 under investigation for forcing another car off the track. That is Nathan Schaap, that final corner. So the steward's taking a look at that, and it might be that they decide that he forced Maxime Osteen off the track. And if that is the case, there might be a penalty incoming. We'll keep an eye on that one. But Simon Connor Prim, his first ever win in the ADAC GT4 Germany, and Jan-Philipp Springorb, he's a driver who we've seen for the last couple of years, and he's only ever had 1 podium, I think, according to my records. So both drivers taking a debut win in the ADAC GT4 Germany. And there is Jan-Philipp Springorb congratulating Simon Connor Prim as he crosses the line. Both drivers really talented. They were both in the series last year and really entertained. They kept it all together while everybody was losing their heads primarily. Enzo Giuli, though, great job for that 2nd place, along with Sami Matti-Trogan. You just know they are going to be contenders all season long.
Yeah, and it worked out well for them during that pit window, didn't it? Because Giuli was in 4th place, well, the car was in 4th place before that with Sami Matti-Trogan, but they got through to the podium. They got through then into 2nd place in a pretty close battle for the lead of the race. Now, car 22, penalty lap, he would have got that. So that was Nathan Schaap in the Porsche drifting out wide coming out of the last corner, which forced Maxime Osteen, the stewards say, into the gravel trap. He can't get a penalty lap because the race had ended, so he gets a 5-second penalty for that. So he drops to 11th. That means Mo Ritson gets 7th place. Zulaf gets 8th place. Reiter gets 9th. Osteen gets 1 back, so a top 10 finish. And Schaap drops down to 11th place as a result of that 5-second penalty, because, of course, they're all queued up behind him as they crossed the line together, weren't they?
Yes, and that's the problem when they're all so close together. 5 seconds is an awful lot of places that he has been demoted. So the stewards intervening in the closing stages. There is the 3rd place car, Max Janssen, number 34, with Nico Handke, and there is our race winner, Simon Connor Prim, along with Jan-Philipp Springorb. Happy much, the German duo doing all that they needed to do, and a great win, held off the pressure from Enzo Giuli in the closing stages of that race. But Volcanhorse Motorsport, they will be delighted with their 2nd place, but not as much as CV Performance Group. A great job there, and they will, of course, head to the top of the point standings, and a really, really solid performance from them. So Simon Connor Prim has adapted to the Mercedes, having been an Aston Martin driver, has adapted very well indeed. Fairly similar cars to drive, I should think.
Well, the last lap of the race, they changed for 5th as well, didn't we? With Jan getting ahead of Jedrum. So the Mercedes, which was having a pretty lonely time of it for the last 10-15 minutes of the race, dropped down from 5th to 6th on the final lap of the race as well. But with Jan then ending the race in the pit, so that one to be determine. But off the screen, the 31 car, the Porsche, it is classified as 5th.
So, entertaining race. I would expect it all to be very different tomorrow because qualifying may well be different. If we don't get the red flag at the end, that is the case. It was a jumbled up grid, but it was Simon Conor Prim and Jan Philipp Springop who took advantage to take the top step of the podium ahead of Enzo Juli and Sami Matti Trogan. With Max Janssen, I keep calling him Max Jensen, I've got to get that right as the season goes on, in 3rd place, along with the co-driver, which is Nico Handke. Here comes our 2nd place, Enzo Juli and Sami Matti Trogan. But the winners here at Oschersleben, race 1 of the season, to Simon Conor Prim and Jan Philipp Springov, the top step of the podium. Job done, celebrations in the sunshine. A time for the, we're going to get a representative from the team first, a representative from CV Performance Group. And then it'll be time for the national anthem, which will come up any second now. So Mercedes ahead of BMW, A great debut for Volkenhorst Motorsport in the ADAC GT4 Germany. The legendary team taking both 2nd and 3rd place in the race. Then another Mercedes, Marcel Lenez in 4th. The winners receiving wonderful trophies. Those are fabulous trophies, those are. And Davide Lorenzi, head of commercial motorsport for Pirelli, presenting those great trophies. And great drive, that 3rd place drive. Certainly Max Janssen having taken over from Nico Handke. What a great job they did. The Volkenhorst BMW, we knew that was going to be strong here, didn't we? And that has proven to be the case. And CV Performance getting a trophy as the winning team. A quick moment for photos, and then all hell will let loose and everybody will run for cover. A thoroughly entertaining start to the season for the ADAC GT4 Germany. It bodes well, doesn't it?
People found gaps to overtake as well, didn't they? You have to work at it around here. You have to set it up 2 or 3 corners beforehand. But we saw some good moves as we have our first champagne spray of the season.
So, as race 1 of this 12-race season draws to a close, the celebrations start, and now our eyes turn towards race 2. Tomorrow, it'll be happening later in the day. Qualifying will be early tomorrow morning. Well, early by my standards, 10:15 local time, but the race is not till 5 o'clock. The track will feel quite different to many of these drivers for the 2nd race tomorrow. It'll be driver number 2 who will sit in the cockpit to qualify the car. It could be any one of the 27 GT4 cars here this weekend who could put it on pole position. Join us tomorrow for what will be a fantastic race 2 for the ADAC GT4 Germany. We'll see you then.